Hi, welcome. My name is Natalia, and today I want to talk about a little about tarot, and like always. And I watched some videos of tarot too because I didn't do it. I was not doing it for a very long time, and I wanted to know what it was in trend in this moment. Like I actually take off a time for myself about this community because I needed to find my own voice in this beautiful community that I love, but I actually needed to find my voice again for a while. I was watching some videos, and something I noticed about them is just some of the topics I talked about in my videos before, like buying or not buying decks, is still something that people is actually having problems about. Like it's very difficult for some people to really have being in a good place with it, to being a collector or not being one. Um, I don't think we have recipes for that. I don't think everything or the same things work for the same people, for everybody. I mean, I think like the things can work for me, maybe they can work for everybody. But if you need some help in any way, or you need to just talk about it, you can find so good people, so many good people here that I'm sure this community is more about to help each other than having a fight with each other. So you can talk to me and if you don't want to talk to me, I'm sure you can find someone that you can actually talk about this in this community too. But one of the things was resonating with me more was the idea of too many copies about Waite. And I have my ideas about copies. I I always have a different, I think, approach of tarot because coming from I am a literature teacher, and my brain is always associating things with that all the time. So tarot to me is a journey and is a storyteller. I am a storyteller. I one of my ways of living is telling stories. I do that, and I work with children and sometimes with old people, but I live for that. I love that part of my work. Being able to tell stories to people is something I love. So tarot for me works with that. But I was thinking about the concept of copies, and I know that it can we always and something I think is very interesting to me about that is that I have this RWS here, the Centennial edition that uses game, and people can say to me that it's original or like the original RWS, but actually it's just a copy. It's not original in any way because the original deck is what I think in this case it was made to have copies from the beginning because it was made like a tarot deck. It's not art like it actually after it becomes a tarot deck like we have today sometimes. It's more something that it was created for being a tarot deck. So it was created to be mass produced. In a way, not like we can have so many decks today, but in a way, it was something mass produced. And if I read the theory of the aura of Walter Benjamin very long time ago, but I have some things in my mind about the idea that I think is we can actually make it work about tarot, or I can connect with tarot. I mean, these are copies, are not originals. But yes, the different kind of versions of this deck are copies of this one, or sometimes are more like representations of this original. What I'm trying to say is, in the concept of aura that Walter Benjamin had, the original was created in a moment of history, a moment of time. And because of that, it has a different kind of energy that the copies can actually have. And when someone is connected with the original, they have a different way to perceive the original and feel a different kind of connection that you can actually feel with a copy. It's like in the original is something there that you can actually not have in any copy, because the way it was created, the way it was represented in that moment, the outer energy, the painting, the person that made the piece of art has make an imprinted energy in that original. And sometimes the way of history working is more important than the moment it was created. And something to add about that, or maybe the most interesting thing to me to think about that, is that art in all times was something that it was not actually available for everybody. Not everybody can actually see art all day like we can actually do, because we have different connections and we have more access to art, even when we have more access to copies of art that our ancestors or people in all times actually had. And one of the reasons is because sometimes the things we think they are art today, they were more like tools, and sometimes magic and religions or ritual tools. And today we think about them like pieces of art or pieces of history. But in the original moment, it was more about the piece or the painting of the sometimes the sculptor, or was more sacred. And for that reason, it was not actually something that you can access all the time. Some pieces were actually you can sorry about that word. You can only use it one time of the year, and after that you have to be having it very in a dark place, or you can not see it for a long time, or maybe 1 year, or maybe more time, because it was important to the ritual that you can actually no access to the piece for a very long time to make the ritual work better in the moment that you need it. So I think rambling about this, that sometimes the people that we are tired to see too many copies, we are longing that connection with the sacred of tarot. We see tarot like something that is more a tool, and we have a connection with tarot decks like they are people sometimes, and they are alive, and we think that they are something that we have to respect in a different kind of way. I'm not saying with this that if you have too many copies of tarot decks, doesn't mean that you don't respect tarot. I mean that it's something out of the ritual of reading tarot that is important for some people, and it's not really for others, because not all us will work with the same word and use the same way tarot decks, and it's okay, really is okay. So I'm not going to talk too much about the difference of art and digital art. I mean, art is always changing, and the way we see art today is very different than that 200 of years ago was people saying so about art. Oh, sorry, about art in general. So, copies of things sometimes make us feel that we have or we know the original, and we have the feeling of the original. Yes, I think it's important to really remember that if it wasn't for the copies of the original versions, we actually would not be able to have access to art. Because the majority of the time, yes, you can go to a museum, but it's too easy to find a copy of Mona Lisa if you actually use your phone than going to see the original version. And maybe if you don't know if you are watching the original, when you are in the museum too either. So what I'm trying to say is, I don't think copies are sometimes bad for the original piece, because I believe that the reason because exist so many copies about the original is because the original was so important to a moment of history that people still need to remember it, and still using copies of that because of that. The reason because the Waite Smith deck has too many copies is because it was so important. It is so important still today. People need to have their own representation of the deck. Yes, it can make you feel tired, but actually it's not a really bad thing. The problem exists when you think maybe it's too much, or maybe the copies make us feel that we know the original, and actually we don't. When we don't have access to original because we prefer the copies. And in a way, old art and old is very not linear. It's more complex of that. Every is connected in a way, but I don't think it's bad to have any different kind of version of tarot. But I know that I have copies of decks, and I can go back to time. It changes the way I see tarot today. And I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just the way I see it. And I can do anything about it because it's the time I live, in the moment of history I am. Copies are everywhere, and people react and do copies because it's the way we can actually have access to art. We live in a different moment. We have more access to words and images that we all have in the human we had in a very long time. Maybe more in the moment in history that nobody did before. We have more access to too many things, and we have too much voices, and I don't believe that is a bad thing, but sometimes we have so much noise about it. Sometimes the reason because we need some space about seeing something is because maybe it's too many voices, maybe it's too many representations, and sometimes the original meaning is lost completely because we have the representations of the representations, and we are having copies of copies of copies. And now sometimes the last copy is not going to have any kind of connection with the original. I know I'm going very crazy in this rambling, but what I'm trying to say is I understand how you can actually feel very tired of seeing too many copies, even if it's cat or I don't know. Cops, I saw a tarot deck about different kind of mugs. I don't know. Kitchen tools. And sometimes that can actually be wonderful because actually can actually work, and sometimes you need it because it can make you laugh about tarot. Sometimes we have a deck not because we are going to use it like tarot deck, it's because we think it's funny or pretty or no, I don't know, it makes you feel fine or happy, and it's okay. And but yeah, sometimes the noise is going to be too crazy and you are going to feel the loss or the longing of the original. And it's okay too to make the time to go back to the roots and take your time to think about the reason because you started to do tarot, the original deck that you used in the first time, how make you feel in the time, how you work with it, why you started to do tarot. But the truth is sometimes some new decks can actually make people that it wasn't very into the original work with tarot today, because the copies are more for some people in this moment. And it's okay that too. You don't have to start with the Waite. You can start with whatever it makes you happy to you. It makes you happy. It works for you. But yeah, I was in that moment. I still am in that moment of, okay, I don't want so much noise. I need to take time to think more about tarot, to use the decks I actually grew up, to take the time to connect with it a little more, to feel that tarot is not just a kitchen tool, or I mean something that is very replaceable. I need to feel that I have a connection with it. Is because it's a mystic tool for me, and I need to feel that that thing it works for me to make me feel that connection is having a ritual, using the deck in a way. We think sometimes that rituals are a loss of time, and it's not actually the truth. Rituals makes me have the right mood sometimes to read tarot decks, to read or connect with the spirit, or connect with wherever you believe that you are connected. And decks are part of that. Your deck, the deck you use all the time, you need to feel a connection with the deck. That is sometimes what I think is important. You can have 100 of them and maybe you can connect with all of them. It's okay. but it's more about the ritual aspect, the mystical connection, and sometimes it's okay longing that, because the world can actually be a little crazy and a little noisy, and tarot readers, we need to find that more deep connection and find that the voice that I was talking in the beginning of the video. Yeah, I think that seeing art and tarot decks like something that is sacred, it can work for some people. And the idea of tarot, not only the decks, symbols are here. So we have the connection with tarot, even when we don't have a deck. We are seeing symbols in the street, in our lives. We connect with it. We think in that way. That is what makes us tarot readers. We create stories and we work with stories, and we are using decks or tarot. It's in here, it's in all us. It's not about only the cards. It's what the cards sometimes represent. So I hope you're having a very good week, life, day to I don't know, but I please tell me what you think about this, and I really wish to see you again. Just I would love to hear something. Give me a comment about what you think or what you want me to talk about the next week or in the next video. So have a good day.